Good afternoon. As many people know, February is an important month. It's not just because of Valentine's Day, it's because the entire month is Black History Month. And some people may or may not be aware of the work of Carter G. Woodson, who's a historian who's responsible for it. And to make a long story short, he was noticing that the canon of contributions of Black people are totally overlooked in any curriculum, anything going on. We'll just make it simple. Anything dealing with people of color, African American, people of African descent, Black folk, there's nothing in there. And the only thing that was in there were things like the Three-Fifths Compromise, where 5 slaves count as 3 people, all that type of stuff, which made Black people, in a global view, viewed as less than human. But what he discovered in his research, there is a rich and powerful history, and I'll just say history is an understatement, not only of people of color in this country, but globally. So the concept was to start off with the day, which grows into a week and eventually a month. And while, yes, there's a lot of celebrations going on, like in schools and civic entities and whatnot, the whole point is by taking the month of February to place extra emphasis, that will be a springboard to have this continuing conversation throughout the year. So one of the things I think of, and definitely share, when you look back, and I know looking back, not too far back, don't crack any jokes. We look good for our ages, we know. But in looking back, how do you view what was done when you were in school? And then the second part is, what have you done as you've become an adult to make sure that you're better putting this into play every day?
So, growing up, I didn't have, I grew up in New York City. I went to New York City public schools and then private schools. I didn't have a particularly good view of Black History Month because what would come up was slavery. What would come up was the civil rights and people being beat, and Martin Luther King's "We Shall Overcome" song. I remember being in the 4th grade and refusing, like Colin took the knee, I sat down. I'm not singing "We Shall Overcome." I was so, just so taken aback by it. It just felt so like such a defeatist type thing. Now, back in the day when we were growing up, we had ebony magazines, and they were, about 12 or 17 inches long. And during Black History Month, they would have the pictures of the Black kings and queens. And my mother would, have a collection of those, and she would put those up around the house. And my mother taught me Black history. So what she taught me, and then when I would go to school, I remember arguing with people, telling them about African kings and queens, and them telling me that and talking to other Black people, all Africa is a bunch of, like savage, like Tarzan stuff running around.
Stuff, yeah.
And so my interpretation of Black history as a kid growing up was very negative. And it wasn't until I was in college and took a African American history class that my whole world opened up.
And it's funny because I think a number of people might have had a similar experience. I know what helped me out, yes, you had the usual in school, and what was ironic is I remember doing a report on Nat Turner. No, I'm serious. We actually had in my public, Fernbrook Elementary, I'm so serious, up in Randolph, New Jersey, I did a report in 2nd or 3rd grade on Nat Turner. There was a book in the library.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said, because you looked in the class, how many people look like me? I'm just being honest with you. But one of the things that helped me out growing up is not only during the month of February, but throughout the year at the Morris County Public Library in Morris Plains, New Jersey, there was a Saturday program, and they did Black history almost like every other Saturday. So I got more exposure from, let's say, my parents and a little bit from school, but it was mostly outside things. But like you said, it wasn't until college, until you really started getting deeper into other texts, other resources that we'll share a couple before the end of this segment, that were great in telling more than just the usual stories. Right. And don't get me wrong, we're not saying that, Martin Luther King Jr. is not important, because he is. But there are other figures in civil rights, from Bayard Rustin to Arna Bontemps to Rosa Parks and countless other women, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X. There are other people that contributed, that played a part. One person didn't carry the whole thing of civil rights on his or her back. But we want to make sure that, again, looking at the theme of discovery, these things are starting points that should encourage you to go a little bit deeper.